Welcome, everybody, to the Monique Presley Show. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you. I appreciate you waiting on me, especially today. I pinch hit for Don on his show this morning. Katie Fang was hosting, and I dropped in as a guest as he was in the air. But we're still spinning around 3 times, regrouping, and coming on here with you because it is our mission here to make sure that you have the news that you need when you need it. We want to bring you clarity where there might be confusion. We want to correct the record. I'm a career advocate and litigator, so we want to correct the record where it's necessary. But we for sure want to bring you information and inspiration so that we can, in spite of all of this stuff, live our best, most thriving lives. And that means doing the things that we need to do, getting things done every single day. Yes, on behalf of this democracy, but hey, on behalf of ourselves. One thing that I said, and I don't want to jump ahead because we have a lot to discuss today, but one of the things that I said at the end of the marathon, almost 9-hour live stream on the Don Lemon Show a few days ago was that we have to advocate for ourselves and for our families as if we are the client, as if we are the one that deserves all of our best effort, all of our best energy, all of our best attention, all of our best bravery and courage. And we've got to fight for the client. The client is me. The client is my children. The client is our neighborhood, our block. And so that's what I'm asking each of us to do every day. Welcome to everybody who is just now joining. Maybe you haven't been here before. I've seen there's lots of new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to just stick the information at the bottom of the screen so you can know all the places that you can follow me. I suspect some of you found me because I was on the air nonstop for a while a few days ago. And maybe you're following me on Instagram. The show used to be called Make It Make Sense. We're still making it make sense. Used to be called Make It Make Sense, and we were doing it live on Instagram. We are transitioning over to YouTube, and we want all our friends from Instagram, from Facebook, from all the places to come over here and be in community with us. Woo, it's been a day, y'all, right? It's been a week. It's been a year is what I guess I should say. But, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I see new subscribers here. I want to be able to put you on this screen. Welcome, Krista Renee 3545. I'm glad you're here. I see welcome, Lorraine Brown 2515. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. I'm so excited. Thanks, you guys. And I see... Oh, good. That means that I see some lemon heads. I appreciate that. You know, maybe that is where I should start. You know, there's this guy who we all know who unfortunately, wrongfully was arrested. And while he was supposed to be in LA to cover the Grammys, and instead of being able to cover the Grammys, he ended up being in a position where his liberty was affected. And maybe you've heard of him. Have you guys heard of Don Lemon? I'm sure you have. I've seen people say things, thank you for what you're saying about the job that I did for him, but I want to explain kind of as best I can the things that are publicly known about what happened, because golly, was it like a doozy of a story. This guy, there he is. And what a handsome shot of him from Jimmy Kimmel last night in his mustard. But, you know, I have known Don for a lot of years. We have been friends, we've been colleagues. I've been under his very difficult questioning any number of times over the years. And for sure, I know what that feels like. I know what the rigors of those are like when I was representing some high profile client or another and was on CNN being asked questions by him, and always respectful. Want to say that many were not, but he always respectful, and just have grown in respect for each other through the years. And when he left CNN and started his own independent journey, I used to always just come in the chats and say, "Freed Don is the best Don." And I think we've all come to find that that is true, that a Don Lemon who is unshackled, a Don Lemon who does not have to be beholden to corporate interests, has been of a benefit for all of us, because we have come to find the Don Lemon Show and his channel on YouTube and all of the other places, Substack, iTunes or Spotify, if you listen to it as a podcast. We've come to rely on getting the unvarnished truth, someone who would call a thing, and that's definitely something that I pride myself on as well. So I've been a frequent commentator on his show and have a weekly segment, The Week with Monique. You can go check those out. I think there's a playlist of those there, and some here. So once a week, you can kind of catch up with what I think are the one or two things in the week that should be ones that we pay attention to in the middle of all of the news that can become noise. The unfortunate part right now is that none of it is a distraction, right? So when I heard in the early morning hours, Friday morning, that Don had been arrested, that was something that Charles Coleman, Katie Fang, and I, and others who are in the legal profession had been on Don's show talking about quite a bit. And we knew that it possibly was coming. And so we were, I'm sure he and his legal team were prepared. We were prepared with analysis because we had watched others be arrested. And for me, my thought when I learned that he had been arrested and when his team reached out and asked if I would step in as guest host was, of course, because Don has stepped in and helped all of us and been there for all of us and put us on his programming when nobody else would, and continue to speak out when nobody else would, and just doing things that enabled all of us to be able to be in community together because of his courage, because of his bravery. So it was a no-brainer to me as I'm out here in these independent streets. And I do not consider myself a journalist. I definitely am an advocate, and I am a host, and I am an analyst. I don't even pretend to be impartial. I'm not. I don't even try to find the both sides in any of what is going on with this administration. No, not going to. Thank you, Jessica Gooden. 2776. She says she watched on show for the first time today. You amazingly instantly subscribed to all of you. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. Please subscribe here. Please like. We appreciate that. And obviously, it's independent media, so we appreciate your support. As my team says, no gift too great or too small. We appreciate them all. But as I said, it was a no-brainer to step in. And when I stepped in, I thought I was stepping in for an hour. And we ended up, a collective of us, stepping in for close to 9 hours. We stayed on until we watched Don come out of that courtroom and give remarks. And then even after that. And so thank you to all of those who assisted me as we assisted Don, because Katie Fang took up a leg as guest host, and Charles Coleman took up a leg as guest host, and then too many journalists, comedians, content creators, elected officials, organizers, activists, too many to name, came on that day and offered support to Don. So if you go and you look at the live stream, the entirety of the live stream is up on his channel right now, and you'll see the likes of Joy Reid, D.L. Hughley, Scott Galloway, Eric Swalwell, you see Reese Colbert, Clay Kane. You see, I'm trying to name names and you get in trouble when you name names, but like I said, them and others. And frankly, all of it wasn't just free Don, or talking about that. The people who came on were talking about the issues of the day. So it's 9 hours, close to 9 hours, that is chock full of information that you need. So maybe you can listen while you're driving and get caught up, or maybe you can have it on low at work and get caught up that way, and also entertained, because the comedians on there, Jay Jordan and others, were definitely funny while factual and while giving us the information that we need. I think that levity is a big part of what we have to do here now. Thank you. I'm trying to catch as many of the comments as I can and stick some on the screen. But thank you. Oh, I see some people saying they watched 9 very important, informative hours. You all were amazing. Thank you, Exo Kimberly G. And somebody saying, make it rain _NYC_FL. Thank you for watching the whole time. Appreciate that. You know, I feel strongly, and Don actually gave me a shout out on Jimmy Kimmel last night, and I appreciate that, but I would do it again and again and again, because I believe that's what this time requires. I believe the season that we are in, we can't do it without community, and we can't do it without sacrifice. And maybe everybody is not required to be in the streets or putting their lives on the line in that way, but you can put your time on the line, you can put your finances on the line, you can put your brain power on the line, because all of it, frankly, is needed right now. We need everybody to do every single thing that they can so that we can come out of this, y'all. Am I optimistic? Let me put it this way. I stay hopeful. As a woman of faith, I haven't lost hope, right? I haven't lost hope. And I believe that faith has to be coupled with work. And so if we're putting in the work and we have some faith to go along with our work, faith without works is dead, being alone, that was real preachy. Those of you who know, you know. And that means literally that it's dead. Your faith is dead if you're not working. That it's ultimately useless, because there is a part that we can all do, and the part that we can all do needs to be done. And your part is not mine is not yours is not your neighbor's, etc., and so on. It's when we come in as a collective and all do the part that we can, that we make a difference. So I just want to catch all up on some things that were going on while they were unlawfully arresting my friend and taking him to jail. And I do want to point out what other people have been pointing out. Please subscribe to his channel. Please support independent journalists and independent media. The charges that he is facing, the charges that Georgia Fort that she is facing, they are serious charges. That's what happens when you have a lawless government. They are, you know, they don't care. They don't care. People ask me all the time, but how can they do this and how can they do that? And I say all the time, they can do it because they can. They don't have guardrails. They don't have boundaries. They don't have morals. They don't have ethics. There's not integrity. There's none of the things. And they don't have fear. They don't have fear, because the Supreme Court has enabled this emperor with no clothes to be in the White House, knowing that whatever it is he does, that by law now, he cannot be punished save for impeachment. Because the Supreme Court has said that while he is in office, that cases, prosecutions will not be brought against him, not lawfully. So they would end up, anybody who tried it would end up being dismissed for a sitting president. So that has created a monster. And that means that unless we do what we have to do, which of course I'll be talking to you about today before I get off, unless we do what we need to do with the midterms, this is where we're going to be for a while. Can we control some things? Can we make some things better? Yes. But to really turn the tide, phew, yeah. But as a first subject, I wanted to remind people the reason why Don was out there a couple of weeks ago in the first place is because the federal government has occupied the state of Minnesota. And it is for reasons that are not legitimate or honorable. Do any of you know, like, the percentage of people who are not documented, who are non-papered immigrants in Minnesota is less than, by huge numbers, less than 4 other states. Like there are other states where their population of non-papered immigrants is almost the size of the entire population of Minnesota. This occupation has nothing to do whatsoever with them needing to tamper down with illegal immigrants and hardened criminals and bad actors in Minnesota. This is about an enemies list. This is about who their governor is. This is about Minnesota's refusal to play ball with the Trump administration. And you can tell by the things that even the so-called Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, is offering. Oh, we'll leave if you turn over your voter rolls. Huh? Okay, so if you leave, if we turn over the voter rolls, then what does that really mean in terms of the legitimacy of you being in Minnesota? Because if there's some great need for you to be there, wouldn't that mean you'd be staying? Wouldn't you have to be there? Yeah, me too. I'm trying to catch what you guys are saying. Yeah, that's what you call it, Krista Renee. It's blackmail. That is exactly what you call it. There's no other word for it. And please understand that even though these bad actors like Bondi, like Todd Blanche and others, even though they are not being made to answer for these things, now they will answer for them. Trouble don't last always. These people will not be in office forever. They will not be protected from consequences forever. And some of them, like Kristi Noem, if she doesn't end up getting fired, she needs to be impeached. But I just wanted to show you guys, because the whole reason that Don went there in the first place, as I said, is because Minnesota is being occupied. It's been invaded, and people have been traumatized. Whole communities are being traumatized there right now. That it has not yet been corrected. We should still be paying attention to it. To go from arresting protesters to arresting journalists is hideous. But remember, they're protesting because American citizens who have been exercising their freedom of speech have been killed in broad daylight. State-sanctioned violence, state-sanctioned murder in the middle of the streets. And I'm a career defense attorney. And so I usually wouldn't even use a term like murder, because murder is a term of art. It's a legal term, and it means that a court of law has concluded a certain thing. So murder is different than killing. Murder is different than wrongful death or police action or any of the other things that we say. But if you look at the videos, there's no other conclusion that can be drawn. None. But anyway, I want to share one of my favorite moments from the time that Don was on the streets, because I think that, guys, I'm working by myself today, so be patient with me as I try to get these things up. I think that this explains the way people are feeling and why.
What's that going to
This
mean?
is a white supremacist agenda.
Why do you say that?
Fuck off.
No, me, dude. I'm
You're
not
on
here.
Whose team are you on?
Come on, man.
Don Lemon.
This is Don Lemon.
All right, man.
All right. Well, no.
Sorry, brother. I'm so
Very
sorry.
much
Really?
on our team.
No, I'm so sorry.
On our team.
Yeah. So why do you say that?
This is a white supremacist agenda. They're not just going after criminals. I'm so sorry I went after you there. I didn't
Come on.
recognize
Do I
you.
look upset?
There's all kinds of folks out here with media. They're not just going after criminals. They're going door to door and they're targeting any black and brown person they can find. And all of America is next. If you live by a black or brown person, you're next. They're above the law. They outnumber our police. This is a white supremacist agenda. No?
When did you get? You just today's your first.
I live
day?
nearby. I've been out a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. But why do you come
I'm so
out? You
sorry I
could be
went
a-
after you, man.
Dude, it's fine. Why are you out here instead of like being in your warm, cozy house?
Because there's a point where whites got to stand up and recognize that this is a white person problem, and we need to represent our black and brown neighbors and disavow MAGA.
Yeah.
We need to put an end to this. We need to put an end to this. We fucked up so bad. This is the end result of all of the bigotry and racism that we have been putting up with for years. This is the logical conclusion.
What do you think is going to happen? Where does this end? How does it end?
I don't know. I don't know. What do?
Yeah.
I talk to anyone who will listen, and I disavow every MAGA person I've ever known. They have no place in my heart. This kind of hatred.
Yeah.
No, if you can't stand 10 toes down and say that trans people, black and brown people have a right to exist, and that women have a right over their own body, then you have no place in my heart. And you have no place in the fucking future. Because we're going to have a bright future.
We're going to have a bright future. We're going to have a bright future. And I think we have to stick with that. But there's a reason. If you look on my Instagram account at Monique Presley, over 3 million people have viewed that one clip of that one nameless person, that one Minnesotan being very Minnesota. He apologized like a million times. But millions of people have looked at that, and hundreds of thousands of people have liked it and shared it, because I think it hits to where we really are, right? That it takes people recognizing their part in everything that has happened and being willing to say, I'm going to step up and do what needs to be done because I am part of why we got here in the first place. And so I really admire what he shared, and think that that's what we need. We need more people being exactly like he was and saying and calling a thing a thing. And everybody notices how he first was like, hey, what team are you on? Because we recognize, even with journalists, are you one of those both sides people that thinks that something about Americans getting shot dead in the street is right? Are you one of those both sides people who's here just to agitate and not to support us? But the things that are going on right now in Minnesota need and deserve our attention. And I want to play for you just a little bit of what Attorney General Keith Ellison had to say about it just a couple of days ago.
It just has to stop. We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution and of federal law. We allege that the surge's reckless impact on our schools, on our local law enforcement, is a violation of the 10th Amendment and the sovereign laws and powers of the Constitution grants to states. We allege that DHS's use of excessive and lethal force, their warrantless, racist arrests, their targeting of our courts, our churches, houses of worship, and schools are a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act on arbitrary and capricious federal actions. And we ask that the courts will end the surge of thousands of DHS agents into Minnesota. We ask the courts to end the DHS unlawful behavior in our state, the intimidation, the threats, the violence. We ask the courts to end the tactics on our places of worship, our schools, our courts, our marketplaces, our hospitals, and even funeral homes. The deployment of thousands of armed, mass DHS agents to Minnesota has done our state serious harm. This is, in essence, a federal invasion of the Twin Cities and Minnesota, and it must stop. DHS agents have sown chaos and terror across the metropolitan area and in cities across the state of Minnesota. Schools have gone onto lockdown. Entire districts have had to cancel school for tens of thousands of students to ensure safety and offer online education because of the students and the parents' fear of coming into the school. Local businesses are struggling. Revenues are down. And some retail stores, daycares, and restaurants have actually closed because people are afraid to go out and to do their shopping, whether they're immigrants or whether they are citizens of many generations. This surge has made us less safe. Thousands of poorly trained, aggressive, and armed agents of the state, of the federal government have rolled into our communities, overwhelmed our local police departments, and law enforcement agencies should be focused on our public safety, but instead, many are dealing with the aftermath of DHS agents' chaos and violence. I want to thank our law enforcement officers for doing a tremendous job under very difficult circumstances. Not the people, but the federal government. Minneapolis police have had to respond to more than 20 ICE-related incidents, like witnesses seeking people being pulled into unmarked vehicles by men en masse, or ICE abandoning vehicles on the street with people detained inside. This is an unlawful commandeering of police resources. In just 2 days, responding to the chaos ICE has cost the city $2 billion in law enforcement and overtime expenses. 2 days.
Did y'all even hear that? Now, you can find his full remarks online in a number of places and on the socials for Keith Ellison and for the state of Minnesota. But $2 billion in expenditures for law enforcement not doing what they're actually supposed to be doing, but having to respond to chaos created by ICE. That's what they're going through right now. That is what's still happening. Children afraid to go to school, people afraid to go to the grocery store. And let's be clear, not just people who do not have papers, who are undocumented, people who have papers, people who are citizens, who have been certainly killed, but have also been arrested, deported. I call it kidnapped, because if you are being deported and you're a US citizen, if you are being deported and you have legal papers, that's not deportation. That's snatching. That's kidnapping. That's taking people off of the streets and out of their homes and away from their loved ones. I mean, you guys saw what happened to little 5-year-old Liam and his father. Hideous behavior. I mean, we watched on video what they are doing. They're using children as pawns to try to get adults to come out of the house. All of it is lawless, and all of it has to stop. So what am I trying to tell us that we need to do about it? Because, you know, guys, I'm about action steps. Abolish ICE. That's what we need to see happen. Abolish ICE. And if you want more information, you can go to my feed, so many other people's feeds. I posted this information there so people can have an understanding. Just want to give you the background information, what ICE is about, how to identify. Vehicles are typically American made. They may have US government plates, and you can share this information with people who you know need to know it. But something has to be done. You guys can screenshot this script so that you can call your senator, call your member of the House. If you're looking to figure out how to get in touch with your senator, your member of the House, that's on the screen, obviously, 202-224-3121. You can also go to congress.gov, house.gov, senate.gov, and get the information there. I'm gonna stick that banner up for you one more time. Congress.gov, house.gov, senate.gov to get the information, or call Congress 202-224-3121. Which brings me to where it is. All roads lead to the midterms, people. And the place that we start, that is right here and right now. If you go to here on YouTube, I don't think I've placed it anywhere else. I did a piece on votings. I think the title of it is just like midterms. And I explain, you can share the information. I explain what's at stake in the midterms, how many offices are up for grabs, why it matters. And for your information, every single House of Representatives spot is on the ballot in the midterms. A third of the Senate seats are on the ballot in the midterms. Thousands of elected office positions across this country are on the ballot. And if you don't know if you are registered, start here. I don't trust any of those government sites anymore. You can go to vote.org. That is safe. You can go to iwillvote.org. You can go to whenweallvote.org. Those places are safe. And once you go to vote.org, it will tell you, or those two other sources, it will tell you whether you are still registered to vote. If you think that you are registered, it'll tell you whether you are. It'll connect you with your state place that where you should be registered to vote. You plug in your address and everything. And if you're not still registered, or if your polling precinct has changed, it'll give you that information. Through vote.org, you can also register to vote. In some states, you can finish the entire process, but it'll take you through step by step. Let me see what you guys are on here saying. Yep. That's what we need. We need action steps. Yep. I'm just trying to check in with you guys. Yeah, I understand it. Somebody is saying, I want to put that up there because, listen, I would get out there in the streets, but I don't like rubber rounds, tear gases, or clubs. I understand Flat Earth Society 3602. I understand that. I do. But we still need action steps. And like I said at the beginning, everybody's step is not taken to the streets. That's not for everybody. I'm not trying to say that it's for everybody. Certainly, Black folks, we've seen our share, and I would argue probably done our part. And I stand squarely by that. But that doesn't mean that you don't have action steps. That's why I'm trying to tell you that your action step needs to start here, right? Because the midterms are coming. And once you know that you are registered to vote, and that every member of your household who is eligible to vote is registered to vote, then you can fan out and start being activated and organize. All politics are local. Start local. Start at home. Cover your block. Then cover your neighborhood. Then cover your town. Then expand to your county. Then expand to doing state work. Then expand to doing national work, because some of the things that we need protecting the most, it's our local vote. It's our vote in our county. making sure we have law enforcement that is going to protect and serve the way they're supposed to, not law enforcement that is going to be in it in order to run up tallies or do the bidding of this administration. That's what matters. But it all starts with the vote. Like I said, go to midterms. It's right here on Monique Presley channel. You can figure out on the channel what it is you need to do. I explain everything, really. I tell you which offices are up. I tell you how to get started as a new activist or organizer. I give you all of the information about how to register. And mostly I'm just trying to get you to understand that we still have the power. Okay, even in circumstances like this. Yes, if we ensure in the midterms that the Democrats get the House and get the Senate, yes, they can impeach that madman. They can. But there's so many other things that they can do that don't have to do with impeachment, that can be the check, that can be the balance that the three branches of government are supposed to be to each other. It's not just about getting him out and we take the head off the snake and then the snake replicates. No, I do not think JD Vance is as bad before somebody, because somebody says it every time I bring it up, somebody says that. No, I don't think JD Vance is as dangerous as Trump and the Trump allegiances and the Trump loyalists and the MAGA cult and all of those things. No, I don't, but it doesn't matter. If we get Senate and House votes so that we can pass legislation for our health care to do what needs to be done, the House has already managed to pass legislation that if the Senate would just sign it, then the ACA subsidies would be back in place, and all of these 20 plus million people who really are in jeopardy of illness and death because they can no longer afford the insurance that they were getting on the Affordable Care Act, that could be fixed immediately if the Senate would do its job. But for sure, if we take control away from this sycophantic spineless GOP and put it in the hands of the Democrats, we get health care. We get legislation for health care, for the autonomy of a woman's body, for voting rights. What about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? Don't we need it now more than ever? There's so many things that can be done, and there are so many things that executive branch can be kept from doing. So many things. Right now, they are taking funds that Congress authorizes. Congress is supposed to have the power of the purse. The executive branch has decided that that's optional, that they can take funds. So if Congress decides that special education in the Department of Education is supposed to get $60 million, they're deciding, oh, it doesn't need to be $60 million. We can give 6 of it and then put the rest of it someplace else. They are actively doing that over and over again. The Office of Management and Budget, headed by Russell Vought, they're doing it over and over again. It's a heist. They're stealing from you, from me. They're stealing. And absent apology, they're stealing. I'm trying to answer you guys' questions. Let's see. How close to the election can they remove names from the polls? How often should people, listen, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Here's the thing. When you see them doing things like going after states like Fulton County, what they're doing with that 2020 election, in his head, he still can't let that go. But what they're really trying to do is try to access state information and access state voting rolls. Same thing that they tried to pull with the black male in Minnesota, and they are trying it in Arizona. They're trying at places where they know that it's close, because technically they're not supposed to have any access to voting rolls at all. They shouldn't be able to purge people. Now, if you are from places like my home state of Texas, and you've got governors that are actively participating, then they are purging. Okay, they are doing lawless things. Redistricting, which is really disenfranchising and suppression. And so that's why it's important. Come on, Texas. You've got options. Texas is not red. Texas is blue, non-voting. Texas is blue, oppressed. Texas has more Black people living in the state than any other state in the United States of America. Black and brown people should be the majority voters in Texas, but the way that they continue to lawlessly redistrict, which is truly disenfranchisement, which is oppression, suppression. So you have to check frequently is the answer to your question. Check and check and check and check and check. And make sure as you march up to the deadline to, because for different states, you can register up to different points. So make sure like on the day that it's the last day to register to vote in whatever your state is, that your name is on the rolls and that you get a copy of it so that you can prove it, because we don't want to have to be going up where we can and you're not on the rolls and you got to do a provisional ballots. And then we got to worry about whether they check the provisional ballots, whether they even count the provisional ballots. We don't want any of that stuff. We don't want any of that stuff. So we want votes to be counted. All votes to be counted. Doesn't matter who you're voting for. We need your vote counted. It matters to me who you vote for, but the right to vote. We're fighting for the right to vote. Who thought we'd still have to be fighting for those things now? It's madness. It's utterly insane. Okay. I think that's all I have for you guys today. I think that that's all I have for you today, at least for right now today. I have a special guest coming a little later today. We're going to have a standalone segment with my friend, Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show on SiriusXM, co-host on the Clay Kane Show. And we're going to be talking about, because she was one of the guests who was on the live stream marathon. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about what's going on in the Crockett versus Tallarico primary in Texas and whatever else she thinks is important. That standalone segment will be on a little later today. So look for it, set your alerts. Please like this video. I hope you learned something. Please subscribe. I'm glad so many of you are finding my channel and I pray that you will enjoy it. You can always send us messages, questions that you want answered, guests you'd like to see talk about things. We're open to all of those things. And please support. The ways that you can do that, you can support the show as you see below on the runner. You can support via business PayPal, Monique Presley TV through Cash App, $ Monique Presley TV through subscribing, and you can support us by sharing this information. You can support us by sharing with as many people as possible. I am going to be back a little bit later today. I'm excited about that, my conversation with Reese. So set your alerts for that. And until then, stay safe out there.